Hi, this is Jerish. Welcome to Ekascloud. In this webinar, I'm going to explain about what is automation, what is Ansible, and getting started with Ansible. This is going to be a series of webinar and this is going to be useful for absolute beginner who want to get started with Ansible. First of all, I'll tell you what is automation. In a corporate data center, you'll have different types of computing devices running with various operating systems. You as an administrator normally logs into the system and you do your system administration tasks. If it is a Linux system, you'll be typing commands. If it is a Windows system, you'll be doing a wizard based configuration. If the task which you are doing is going to be repeated, then to make it faster, what can be done is you can write a program. Normally Linux system administrators use bash shell scripting and Windows administrators use PowerShell scripts. So by writing a program, instead of logging in and typing the lengthy command or the configuration again and again, you can just log in and execute the program. So this is going to make the task little faster. But still you have to log into the system and you have to execute the program. So that can be automated by schedulers. So normally Linux or Windows systems will have schedulers as a service. You can schedule the programs to execute it at a specific time. This is actually called automation. But in a large enterprise where you have hundreds of computers, sometimes logging into each and every computer, creating a program or scheduling is going to be a tedious task. That's what in modern IT environment, different companies and communities, they have made their own automation softwares. So here I have given few logos of few automation softwares made by different companies and communities. Ansible, Terraform, Ceph, Puppet. These are some of the automation softwares. You can install it on a central computer and from there you will be able to automate hundreds or thousands of systems and you will be able to schedule it even in a centralized environment. In this webinar, I'm going to teach you about Ansible. We'll be seeing some other automation tools in some other webinars, but I'm just going to mainly focus on Ansible. Before going to understand what Ansible can do and with Ansible what are all the advantages, so I'm just going to directly tell about Ansible and how to use it. Once you know how to use it, then you will be able to correlate with other automation tools and you will be able to understand the advantages and disadvantages of Ansible. This Ansible is a open source automation software developed by a community called Ansible, and it is now managed by Red Hat. To get started with Ansible and to understand how Ansible works, you should know 6 terminologies. One is control node, then managed node, then inventory, module, play, and playbook. I'll be explaining each of these terminologies with diagrammatic way. You might have understood Ansible is a software. So now to understand the first terminology called control node, so look at this drawing. So control node is a device where Ansible is installed. It will be a central device where the Ansible software is installed. The second terminology is managed node. Assume this is a control node. From this control node, your ultimate aim is to do automation. So the device or the devices which you are going to manage using Ansible control node are called managed nodes. Managed nodes can be of any operating system. It can be Linux, it can be Windows. It's not limited to only servers. It can be routers, load balancers, cloud accounts, and many more. Let's assume there is a control node where Ansible software is installed, and assume there is managed nodes. The third terminology which you want to understand is inventory. Inventory is a file which we create in the control node, which will have information about IP address or names about the managed nodes. We will manage about inventory in detail in our upcoming webinars, but just to make you understand the terminology, I'm saying inventory is a file which is going to hold the list of hosts or group of hosts which are going to be managed using Ansible. The fourth terminology which you want to understand is modules. Once after installing Ansible software in a central server, automatically lots of Python or PowerShell programs will get integrated within that operating system. They are called modules. You as a administrator, you will be using these modules to do automation on the managed node. Traditionally, to manage lot of servers, you used to write complex programs, but now with this Ansible, you will be by default having lot of modules created by Ansible, Red Hat, and third parties. It's now simple to use these modules and do our required jobs. The fifth terminology is play. from the control node to automate the managed nodes. After setting up an inventory with the help of modules, if you are doing a single action, that is called a play. The module to be executed in the target node. So from within the Ansible control node, these Python or PowerShell programs will get executed in the remote managed nodes. That action is called a play. If you want to do complex activities or sequence of tasks, sometimes play is not going to be sufficient. Then you have to write something called playbook. Playbook is a YAML file, contains one or multiple plays. Each and every play is going to point a module and it's going to execute in one or multiple managed node. The playbook file which we are going to create is going to be with the extension of YAML or YML. These are the 6 terminologies one should know to get started with Ansible. Just to repeat the 6 terminologies again, the first terminology which I have explained is control node, the device where Ansible is installed. The second terminology which I have explained is managed node, the device or devices which are going to get automated with the control node are called managed node. And the third terminology which I have explained is inventory. It is a file which we create in the Ansible control node, which is going to have the details about the IP address or the name of the managed node. The fourth terminology is modules. Just after installing Ansible on a server, you will have Python or PowerShell programs. We can use these modules to do an automation to the managed node. If we use a module and if we do a single automation, that is actually called a play. If we want to do sequential tasks, then we need to create something called playbook. Once after understanding these 6 terminologies, now it is possible to get started and install Ansible in one server. But before that, I have pointed few information related to Ansible. Ansible is simple to get started because Ansible uses YAML, which is a data serialization language. Ansible is powerful because it uses Python in the background and you can use different programming language to create modules. It is agentless. Comparing some of the other automation tools, Ansible is agentless, meaning you don't need to go to each and every managed node and install some plugin to get started with Ansible automation. And it is cross-platform. It's not limited to one operating system. You can do automation on various operating systems. With Ansible, you will be able to provision virtual machine. Let's say you have some hypervisors in your corporate data center, and if you want to create virtual machines, with the help of Ansible, you will be able to provision it. Even you will be able to do it in cloud platforms. With the help of Ansible, as an administrator, whatever configurations you are doing, you will be able to do the configuration management with the modules. It is also possible to deploy software to various operating systems. And finally, there is a orchestration tool. With that, you will be able to manage workflow. These are some of the uses of Ansible. Now I have one Linux system. I'm going to show you how to install Ansible and make that system as a control node. I'm using a Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8 system. In order to install Ansible on Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8 or Red Hat based operating system, first of all you need to set up the base repository. This will be already set with the base repository. You can verify by using repo list. Once after you have your base repositories, you need to additionally use EPL repository. The extra package for Enterprise Linux repository will have Ansible software. So in order to connect to EPL repository, I'll use this command. This is going to download the repo configuration files, and it makes this Linux system get connected to EPL repository. Once your Linux system is connected to EPL repository, you will be able to install Ansible software. You can use yum install Ansible to install Ansible software. This machine is also called control node. If you use Ansible -- version, you will be able to see which version of Ansible got installed. The latest version of Ansible is Ansible version 2.9.24. 2.9 is the major version of Ansible. With this, we will end this webinar, and in our upcoming webinar we will use some managed nodes, and we will see how to set up inventories.